Yo, what is up guys, and welcome to another Wild Rift video. And in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a tier list for every single role in the game. I want to say though, some behind the scenes stuff. I messed up this tier list 3 times because I refreshed my entire browser 3 times, unfortunately, and I forgot. So all the tier lists got refreshed 3 times. So I've remade the tier list 3 times. I'm not gonna touch any other button than actually switching through the tier lists right now because I don't want to do this again. But I've put a lot of careful thought into these tier lists because there is so much more to it than you may think. Because I want to explain something to you guys before we get into these tier lists. How do I assess the power of these champions, right? Like how do I decide that Darius is suddenly so much stronger? How do I do that? First of all, you look at patch notes. For example, Jax got a big buff, okay? Of course, Jax is going to be stronger. This is easy. Even a monkey would understand. However, I want to twist your mindsets a little bit, guys. If you look at the current patch notes right now, they buffed late game champions in a way. They buffed late. I don't exactly remember what they changed, but I do remember that late game champions got buffed. I believe it had something to do with the runes that got added or the way that the game works. I'm sorry that I don't remember what it was, but basically what I'm trying to say is, for example, if they suddenly make every champion get more gold per minute, this is an indirect change to a lot of champions. Lee Sin gets nerfed because Lee Sin doesn't want everyone to get gold. He wants to get gold. Oh, it's the bounties, the turret bounties and all of that. So they added bounties to Wild Rift, which is that is a direct buff to late game champions, which means, think about it. Kill got indirectly buffed. Veigar got indirectly buffed. So you have to think about it this way. If the game changes, it literally changes which champions are good as well. So even though Kill didn't get a buff or a nerf or anything like that, he is stronger this patch than the previous patch. And that's with a lot of different champions too. Fiora too, for example. I'm just giving examples right now. I'm going to talk about all of the champions, of course, throughout this video. But I just want to make sure you guys are ready for all of it. Because sometimes people just don't understand. They're like, but Hells, Zed didn't get changed for half a year. How is he suddenly S plus tier? You know why he suddenly became S plus tier, the previous tier list? Because it was the ADC meta, guys. Zed didn't get changed, but ADCs got a massive buff, which means everyone was playing ADCs. And what is Zed good against? ADCs. Rengar is also good into ADCs, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to give you all of the examples right there, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. When you decide and when you try to assess the power of a champion, you want to decide which champion you want to play in a new patch. Don't just look at the champions that got directly buffed and nerfed. Look at the other changes as well. Look at which champions are strong right now and which champions counter those strong champions. You know, if Vayne is S++ broken tier, Twisted Fate counters Vayne. You know what I mean? Like that's how you have to think about the game, and that's how I make these tier lists. And that's a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff, that how I think about the game and how it gives me a lot more, how it gives me a better understanding of the game. Something else that I want to say though, I made a Kick, and if you want to follow me, you can follow me. Kick is basically like Twitch, and I want to say, Kick showed me potential interest in a paid partnership, which means potentially that they showed interest potentially in it to pay me to stream there. If that would happen, I would stream there every single day. So if you guys want to increase the chance of that happening, if you want, you can make an account on Kick and follow me. I've put the link to my Kick in the description and in the top comment if I don't forget. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you want to, it would be nice. I know some people may have trouble with it because I think like a lot of people tried to follow me, so maybe the website detected bots or something, but I've let them know about it. So thank you all so much for that. Let's now get fully into the tier list with the knowledge that I gave you guys. So first of all, we got the Baron Lane tier list. And honestly, this one changed the least from all of them. Even though this one did change quite a lot. But I want to say the Baron Lane changed the least. Ornn is S+ tier. Ornn got nerfed a little bit, but he is so unbelievably broken. Remember when I said that I thought Ornn was gonna be like super broken, but people just had to figure him out? Well, he is. I was right about him. He is so damn powerful. And I want to say something too. This is a solo queue tier list. If this was a duo queue tier list, I would put him in the broken tier. And I want to ask you guys as well, by the way, there are 3 champions in the broken tiers across all the tier lists. Which one do you think it's gonna be? Let me know in the comments. Let's see if you can get it right. One of them is really easy. I mean, come on, you will know one of them at least. But let's see if you can get all three of them. You could, like, if you think about it really carefully, you will be able to potentially get them. Okay, I'll give you some tips. It's 1 in the jungle role and 2 in the support role. I'm gonna expect some of you guys to get this one, and don't cheat. Don't cheat. Okay, don't cheat. All right, so Ornn is really, really good. And the reason that I said that I would put him in the broken tier if this was duo queue is because if you're playing duo queue with the jungler, for example, you can buy items next to the jungler and use your Ornn passive to let your jungler keep buying items. This is incredibly good, especially if you pick like a very strong jungler, like a Kayn, like a Kha'Zix, like a Lee Sin, like an early game jungler that can punish the enemies. If he's able to buy, well, not early game, but just a punishing jungler, like a really strong ganker, even Rammus, you know what I mean? Like you want to have like a ganker. So Kill is not a good example for that. Or Master Yi is also not a good example for that. So if you have one of those ganking junglers, he can just keep going, keep ganking, and just buy items in the map. That's a really powerful passive from Ornn. And he still becomes an absolute menace in the late game. Next up we got Aatrox. Aatrox is disgusting, guys. They actually even buffed Aatrox, I believe. It's ridiculous that they would think Aatrox needs a buff. The thing about Aatrox is though, he's quite hard to play, and I haven't mastered him myself, but I have played against really good Aatroxes and with really good Aatroxes. Now I do have something potentially ready for you guys. The top 1 Aatrox in Europe is hopefully going to be giving you guys a gameplay on this channel. I'm trying to fix it. I'll let you guys know more about it. So I may have an Aatrox video for you guys soon, but I just want to say, incredibly broken Baron laner. He'll hold his ground against any Baron laner, and his ultimate is one of the most disgusting abilities in the game, in team fights and during turret diving. Gragas is AP Gragas. I'm only talking about AP Gragas here. Like tank Gragas is fine, but AP Gragas is the stuff that's S+ tier. It really doesn't matter how the meta looks. This champion is so overtuned AP wise. His first ability just does way too much damage. He has such a big engage with his third ability, and then that ultimate as well. Just overall such a strong AP champion in the game. And next up we got a bit of an interesting champion. Darius. So I think Darius is gonna become a monster this patch. I think people haven't figured it out yet. Like I'm not seeing a lot of Darius in the Baron lane yet, but Darius counters this meta really, really well. He's just a very solid pick to pick in the current meta. The runes work very well with him, and just everything is really in Darius's favor right now. So I feel like Darius is gonna rise to the top in this current meta. Wukong is the same boring story. Wukong is always good. You can play him always. His first ability is like way too strong. He can easily trade in the lane with that healing and do so much damage. Of course, in team fights, he's very, very strong. He's just such a versatile champion. He does everything. So like he can hold his ground in the lane, and he's very strong in team fights. Next up, we got Riven. Riven is very, very good as well. But also, just like Aatrox, is not easy to play. It's actually, contrary to that, it's very, very hard to play. I also want to say though, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like. Also, I am doing a skin giveaway. Put down a comment under the video if you want to enter that skin giveaway. Fiora next up. I've put her a little bit higher than before. Because even though Fiora doesn't like team fighting, in the current meta, you can get away with it. It's not like before, guys. Can you imagine? Okay, if you're ahead, you can split push, it's very strong, or you can team fight, it's fine. You know, if you're ahead. If you're behind, which is the other scenario, there's gonna be bounties on the turrets, guys. There's gonna be massive bounties on the turrets. I'm pretty sure they're gonna nerf that, but right now, it's not nerfed, so you can abuse it. Which means automatically split pushing champions become a lot more powerful. Because for example, your team is fighting, you just took 2 turrets. You literally gave your entire team 600 gold per player. Do you know how much that is? Like, do you know how crazy 600 gold per player is? You are gonna be getting 1,000 gold. This equates to a total amount of like 3,400 gold that you get from 2 turrets for your team. That is obviously ridiculous. You push one side, then you're gonna push the other side, then you're gonna try to push mid lane. You can single-handedly make a massive comeback for your team. I know they nerfed Hullbreaker, but you don't need Hullbreaker. You're gonna do enough damage anyways. You're Fiora. So that's the thing with Fiora right now. Very strong in the current meta with split pushing, whether you're ahead or if you're behind. Next up we got Gwen. Gwen is just like, you know, the 1v9 carry that is always going to be prevalent in Wild Rift. They actually even nerfed her. They nerfed Gwen recently. They made her passive do less damage, but she's still unbelievably strong. Unless you get shut down in lane. Remember, this is a solo queue tier list. If this would have been a duo trio queue, I would have put her much lower, because if it's duo trio queue, the enemies could, you know, gank you a lot, because the jungler could be duo queue with the Baron lane or trio queue, you know what I mean? If that happens, you're gonna be in trouble, because the problem with Gwen is if you get ganked over and over again, you're gonna be in massive trouble. But if the enemies leave you alone, or if your jungler ganks you and you get gold, you can 1v9 the game in the late game. I mean, even if you do get ganked, if you just get to the late game with Gwen, guys, she can absolutely 1v9 the game. Set is nice. I'm not going to talk too much about the boring champions, because Camille, for example, I find quite boring. I'm not even going to talk too much about it. She's just good, solid, with a good ultimate, easy to play, just an overall solid pick. Jace has risen a little bit because first strike is very strong on Jace. Not only will you be able to get a lot of gold with it, you're actually going to do a lot of damage with it. The 9% bonus true damage is very nice. And the thing about Jace is you're always the first one to strike. So you're always going to be utilizing the first strike passive, because that's the important thing about it, right? With the first strike passive, you want to be the one to attack first. So you do bonus damage and you get the gold. With Jace, it's very easy with that, you know, with the first ability, third ability combo when you're ranged. You just shoot a massive ball on the enemy, then you go to melee, engage. You'll easily get like 200 gold from first strike in the later stages of the game. Next up is Yone. Yone is not supposed to be played in the Baron lane, but Yone is so powerful right now. You can just play him in the Baron lane. He works very well with the runes as well. The items are very good on him too, the Immortal Shield Bow, etc. So Yone is just overall a solid champion. You can play him in the Baron lane. Next up, we got a champion that I think is going to rise in this meta as well, which is going to be Cannon. First strike Cannon theoretically sounds absolutely disgusting. I have to make a video about it. I'm going to make a video about it, but I'm pretty sure, like, just can you imagine, okay? Can you imagine a Cannon going into 5 enemies with his ultimate second ability, everything? How much gold he's going to get from first strike? And the 9% bonus true damage as well. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but that sounds ridiculous, because there had never really been a good rune for Cannon before. Like, Electrocute was nice in 1v1s, but it doesn't really do anything with your ult. Conqueror was nice in teamfights, but it didn't really do anything with you bursting the enemy. But First Strike instantly gives you 9% bonus true damage. Remember, this is pre-mitigation. So this is outside of armor, outside of magic resist, outside of anything. This is just big bonus damage that you're going to be doing to the enemy. It's very, very big. And then, of course, all of the extra gold you'll be getting. If you just get a few good ultimates early on in the game, it can really snowball your advantage in this game. Next up, we got Aurelia. Aurelia, I don't know why. I don't know how. Like, I know with most champions, with Aurelia, I don't really know. She feels unbelievably powerful right now. Unbelievably powerful. I don't know if that's because of the runes or if it's because she counters the meta. I think it's because of the runes, because I've played against some Aurelias, guys, and it just seemed like they figured it out, man. I don't know what runes they used. I do want to figure out, but it felt like Aurelia was giga buffed when they played it. Way better than before. No idea how. Next up is Garen. I feel like Garen is gonna suck this patch, because Garen is one of those champions that hates true damage. He's a big tank. Everyone is playing champions with first strike right now. So, you know, that literally hard counters Garen. Champions like Twitch destroys Garen, you know what I mean? He also does true damage. A lot of the meta champions are gonna have some sort of true damage right now. And if they didn't before, they will now with the first strike. So that is the indirect change to Wild Rift that made Garen a bit of a weaker champion. Bear in mind, he's still very, very strong because he's sitting in the S tier, but finally he's not sitting in the S plus tier anymore, which he had been sitting at for a very, very, very long time. Next up, we got Jax. Same story as Fiora. Very, very strong right now because of his split pushing. But the beauty of Jax is he can team fight as well. However, it takes him a little bit longer to come online. Like, Fiora is already going to be really strong in the mid game in 1v1s. But the thing about Jax is if you do get to the late game, you're probably still not going to win 1v1s against Fiora. However, you're going to be super strong in team fights, which is a thing that Fiora doesn't have to offer. So very, very solid champion to pick in the game right now. Volibear top is also playable. I would say he suffers a little bit in this patch compared to the old one, but he's still very, very strong. Like very, very strong champion. And you can play him in the Baron lane too. He does totally fine into those bruisers. Any interesting champions I want to talk about? Pantheon is fine. With a first strike, he's fine. Like, he's okay. Shen is okay. Kill got an indirect buff. The runes work very, very well on Kill, and the game has been buffed for late game champions, which of course works really well for Kill. So Kill is gonna be a solid pickup in the current meta right now. If you can just play it safe in your lane, you're gonna be totally fine with Kill. Sion is fine, Urgot is fine, Nyla in the Baron lane is playable, like, and I'm saying only playable, but I wouldn't recommend it because the thing is, it's playable, but you'll get destroyed by Aatrox, you'll get destroyed by Darius, by Wukong, by Riven, by Fiora, by Jax, by Volibear, by Sett, you'll get destroyed by 75% of the top picks. Nyla doesn't do well early on in the game into these bruisers because you don't have enough range to bully them, and if you do get close to them, they will have abilities to catch you. You know what I mean? Like Riven is gonna catch you with the dashes, Darius is gonna hook you in, Aatrox is gonna use his second ability and dash to you, Gragas is gonna use his third ability. You know the drill, right? Like they're gonna go onto you. So I just feel like it's not gonna work. Malphite I feel is really weak in the current meta. He just feels meh. Don't think he's gonna be. I just don't think he's strong in the current meta. Like even full AP Malphite, I've played against that as well. It just doesn't feel that strong right now. There's just way too many counters to it now with the runes and the items. Next up is Kayn. This is something that I still want to make a video on. If you're playing against a ranged champion, you can actually play split push Kayn. It's a disgusting playstyle, but it works so well. But it really requires the right scenario. So you would only really be able to play it in like 5% of the games. If you're laning against a Cannon, for example, it is absolutely ideal to pick Kayn and play split push Kayn. But more on this later, possibly. Anyone interested I want to talk about? Don't pick Teemo. Teemo is horrible in the current meta. Alright, so next up we got the jungler. And here is the first broken champion of the day. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys may have gotten this one, and it is Kayn, guys. Kayn is ridiculous, especially blue Kayn. Like red Kayn is also S+ tier, but blue Kayn is the thing that makes him broken tier. And now that they've added first strike as well, you can really snowball your advantage in the game. Like you'll get so much gold. And you'll always be the one to strike first because you're literally coming out of a wall. You know what I mean? So he's so powerful. He's so powerful. And in the late game, he one-shots enemies as well. Like, if you do reach the late game, there's almost no counter to blue Kayn. Because he'll go through a wall, literally. He goes in with his second ability, slows you, and one-shots you. And if he doesn't one-shot you, he'll ult you. So like there's no real good counter to him if you're just good at this champion. I've made tons of videos on Kayn. You need to watch them because I'm actually a really good Kayn player as well. He's so powerful right now. His playstyle didn't change. He just became even stronger with the first strike. But remember, his playstyle didn't change at all. So all of the recent videos that I've made about him are still completely relevant about him. Next up we got Kha'Zix, and this is a champion that I do need to make a video on. I just played Kha'Zix and I lost because I went for a really stupid build. I was testing. But full lethality Kha'Zix with the first strike, guys. Oh my god. So damn powerful. So damn powerful. He's so strong. It's unbelievable how strong Kha'Zix is right now. You just have to isolate enemies and it's just ridiculous how much damage he does with the first strike as well. Get yourself some gold and get more lethality items. Also with the new addition of the boots, by the way, I forgot to talk about that. It indirectly buffed a lot of different champions as well, and it's really good on Kha'Zix as well. He loves the boots that give him armor penetration. Next up is Twitch. First strike Twitch, guys. Twitch was already really an S+ tier jungler, but now he became even stronger. He's like one of the strongest junglers in the game right now. With first strike, just so much damage. It's just so much damage. What can I say? Like, he just does so much damage. Ganking with him is so easy because you're invisible. He farms jungle decently fast, and in the late game, he's a monster. Like, even early on in the game, you can gank with his invisibility, and all you have to do is just get a few kills, farm your jungle, get to the late game, and 1v9 the game. Ridiculously strong champion. Next up is Evelynn. You guessed it, first strike. I'm gonna have to make a video on it. Evelynn is gonna be so damn powerful as well with the first strike. It will basically do just as much damage as what is it called? Electrocute, but it's also gonna be giving you gold now, which will further allow you to snowball the enemy. And a lot of the sub runes are also really good on Evelynn. I'll tell you more about this, but I checked it out. A lot of the sub runes are basically perfect for Evelynn. You know, you have sudden impact. You have a rune that will do bonus damage if you do ability damage on them. You have Coupe de Grace that does bonus damage to enemies that are low HP. You have so many runes that are just perfect for this champion. So, like, she was already really strong. She became a little bit weaker because Jhin became meta. Jhin hard counters her. But now not as many people are playing Jhin anymore. And the runes work heavily in Evelynn's favor, so she's gonna be back into the meta, I can promise you that. Gragas jungle, AP Gragas, not much to talk about, it's the same old story. Wukong, same old story. I'm not gonna repeat it because it's honestly the same old story with Wukong. Very good team fighting, good sustain, good jungle clear, good ganking, blah blah blah. Aatrox. Aatrox has a decent jungle clear, but he has a very good ganking. Like, he's very good at ganking, but in a different way than most junglers. Aatrox is especially good at ganking the bot lane. You know why? Because he wants to turret dive. He doesn't necessarily have very good CC. He does have CC, but it's not reliable. Like, the enemy ADC and support can dodge his knockups. It's not that hard. But turret diving is a different story. With Aatrox, you want to turret dive. You want to have your team shove the wave and then you gank. You just use your ultimate and turret dive them. You tank the turret and kill both of them. So that's the power of Aatrox's ganks. It's different than most junglers, but it is very powerful. And there is one more jungler that has actually there's two more junglers that have the exact same power. One of them is Volibear. With the ultimate, you know, same story. He may not have the best way of ganking the enemy without like an ultimate, but going under the enemy turret, that's where the power comes from Volibear. So same story, you know, ganking bot lane, or the dragon lane I should say, is going to be way more powerful on a champion like this. And he's still very, very strong champion, very tanky, and just does a lot of damage. I do feel like the runes don't fit him very well though, and I feel like he does get countered by some of the meta champions. However, I still rated him S+ tier because he's just way too strong to not be S+ tier. Riven is a different story. While you could compare her to Aatrox, Riven is just overall a good jungler. She has good jungle clear, she has great ganking anywhere, but the thing that's powerful about Riven, she has dominance in the jungle. She'll fight for the Scuttle Crab any day. She'll fight for the enemy blue buff any day. She'll fight for the dragons and heralds any day. My point being is early mid game, she's a beast. Late game, she'll start to struggle a little bit. You know, the cooldown of your ability is going to be super low, I know. But if you reach like 5 items and everyone has 5 items, she will start to fall off a little bit. But the early mid game power really makes it worth to pick up this champion. Next up we got Diana. Again, I feel like Diana doesn't really fit the current runes too well, but she's a very solid champion, so I've put her in the S tier. She has good ganking with her ultimate. She has great team fighting, obviously, with her ultimate, and she's decently good at 1v1s once you get a little bit later on in the game. And she is one of those types of champions, if you do get to the late game, you can 1v9. Same story with Yone, but Yone is a very high skill champion. I made a video about Yone jungle with Zealous, but it really showed you guys, like, you really need to be good at Yone to make him work in the jungle, because you have to be able to properly time your tornado with your ganks. So I don't really recommend him in the jungle unless you're very good at him in the mid lane, and then you want to pivot him into the jungle, give it a try. And otherwise, get good at him first in the mid lane or Baron lane, and then give him a try in the jungle. Don't first time him in the jungle, trust me, you're going to be useless. Jay's jungle has become a little bit better because first strike, of course, first strike is very, very nice. I never liked Jace myself in a way, like I just don't like the champion too much, but I do have to give him credit right now. With the first strike, he's going to be a lot more powerful. If you just gank very often with your empowered first ability, you're going to be able to accumulate quite a lot of gold with the first strike, and you'll do a lot of damage, get some nice ganks, but I don't know, I just still think he's useless. What can I say? I still think he's useless. That's my personal opinion, but I have to set that aside a little bit and look at it from an objective point of view. And he is okay. He's an okay champion. Next up is another champion that I would classify the same as Aatrox and Volibear, which is Shyvana. Shyvana is also a champion that loves to gank under turrets or like in their face. It's a different kind of playstyle. And Shyvana is way stronger than people may think. I don't see anyone play Shyvana except for the top 1 Shyvana in Europe, which hopefully I'll have a video with very, very soon. I'll show you. I'm a really good Shyvana myself as well. And I know that Shyvana is good right now. I know she's just a very, very solid champion. She does have her counters, and I know some of her counters may be in the meta right now, but she's just overall a very, very solid champion regardless. Rengar. Do I have to say it again, or do you guys get it? I think you guys get it. First strike. First strike Rengar, I just feel like he's going to be very strong. And I believe the same player is also the #1 Rengar. And I think he actually did send me a Rengar video today. So I should have a Rengar video for you guys. First strike Rengar, guys. Really, really powerful. Xin Zhao is a very underrated champion. He's just overall a solid champion, very strong early on in the game, decently strong mid game, and in the late game he will start to fall off, but his playstyle changes in the late game. In the late game he's not going to carry anymore, he's more of a time waster. You go in, you use your ultimate, you try to heal up in the fight. That's what you do in the late game, but in the early mid game you can absolutely hard carry. Darius jungle is okay. He's not very good at ganking, but he's very strong at fighting. Like, he could hold his ground against a Riven, for example, in the fights. But the problem is the compromise is not worth it. Like, his ganking is not very nice, so I rated him a little bit lower. Camille jungle is okay. Now Lee Sin. This is a very controversial opinion, but I think Lee Sin sucks now. I don't know, like, this may be a controversial opinion, but I really think Lee Sin sucks right now. Because, think about it. First strike is okay on Lee Sin, right? Like, sure, it's fine. But how much gold are you really going to be getting out of it? Really not that much. Lee Sin is a single target damage champion, so unless you get like a 5-man ultimate, you're not going to be getting a lot out of your first strike. So you can't be relying on that all the time. Also, the game is better for late game champions now. Snowballing is not as powerful in the game anymore, because even if you do snowball, if the enemy just takes a few turrets, they're right back into the game. And then Lee Sin, the whole power of Lee Sin is gone. Because the whole power of Lee Sin is getting his team ahead, getting himself super ahead so we can one-shot enemies, and snowball the game to victory. So with the Nexus shield, with the bounties in the game right now, I just feel like this is not it for Lee Sin. This is really not it for Lee Sin. I don't think this is his patch. And actually, I would classify him as even weaker than Zed, now that I'm thinking about it. Because Zed, on the other hand, I would say is quite strong. But just like Yone, I want to warn you, you have to be really good at Zed. Like, you really have to be good at Zed. Because if you're not good at Zed, you're never going to be able to clear the jungle properly. Because first of all, you have to be able to use your abilities properly to maintain your mana, to clear the jungle fast. And Zed has some tricks up in his sleeve to clear jungle way faster than a normal player. I believe I have a Zed jungle video from Zealous, who is the top 1 Zed, I believe, on my YouTube channel. So you should definitely check that one out to learn how to play Zed jungle. But he's just a solid champion. He has very low cooldown on his ultimate. The new runes are very good on him. The new boots are very good on him. His ganking is good. And as I said, his ultimate cooldown is very low. So he doesn't really struggle too much against enemy stasis and chance. Because back in the days, his ult would be on a much longer cooldown. So you would literally just have to build stasis to counter Zed. But now it doesn't counter him as much anymore, because his ultimate is going to be on like an 18-second cooldown, which is ridiculous, by the way. But yes, that's the truth. Next up, we got Kill Jungle sitting on top of the A tier. Believe it or not, on top of the A tier. I think Kill Jungle is gonna rise again. He already used to be somewhat underrated. I made a Kill Jungle video as well. But I feel like in this meta, he's gonna be way stronger. I am seeing people pick up kill though. I wanna say, like, I've played a few games and quite a lot of these games have had a kill. So people are giving him a try, but I think jungle kill is gonna be really powerful. Jungle Gwen is okay. Lilia's okay. Nyla jungle I think would be somewhat playable as well. In the same way as Darius. She would suck at ganking, but her fighting would be okay. However, early game she would suck, but mid-late game her fighting would be very, very nice. So that's what I'm gonna guess with Nyla jungle. Pantheon jungle is great. You can gank very, very well. It's just great. Master Yi is nice as well if you get to the late game. The new runes and the new items and all of that don't really benefit him too much, but Master Yi is Master Yi. He can always really work. Anything interesting that I need to talk about? Kai'Sa jungle is still playable, sitting in the bottom B tier. Don't really recommend it because her jungle clear is very, very low right now, but it is actually still playable, believe it or not. Next up, we talk about the mid lane, and here a lot of stuff has changed, yet again because of the first strike. Zoe is still the S+ tier champion, and that's not because Zoe is completely broken. I mean, she is very strong, but that's because of first strike as well. First strike is the perfect rune on Zoe. Like, you can get so much gold out of it, do so much more damage with it, and Zoe overall is already a really, really strong champion. So she's sitting in the S+ tier, not quite the broken tier, just the S+ tier. And I do want to remind you guys, by the way, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like. It really supports the channel a lot. Let's see if we can reach 1,000 likes. I think we can. The channel has been doing really, really nice, and I think you get so much for it. So if you haven't already, make sure you give the video a like if you're enjoying it. Next up, we've got Yone mid lane. Yone mid lane is very, very strong. I feel like the Yone and Yasuo brothers are good in the current meta. I can't really put a grasp on why. And every time that I try to think about it, maybe it's because of the Berserker boots, the attack speed boots. Because they really benefit from attack speed. Maybe that would be it, actually. Because you need to remember, all of the boots got changed as well, the tier 2 boots. So perhaps that could be the reason that he feels so strong, because he just feels so strong. I've seen starting all over playing Yone as well, so unbelievably powerful. In my games, I've seen Yone's with and against me, just a very, very strong champion. Next up we got Diana. Always gonna be a good mid lane champion. Just every game she's gonna be very, very solid. I would say she doesn't really fit too well in the current meta, but Diana is such a strong champion that you can make it work anyways. Next up we talk about Katarina. And this is a champion that I'm trying to master right now. But I do have a Katarina one trick that's gonna be sending me a video. But I am working on mastering the champion too. Katarina with first strike as well. Very, very strong. And the thing is, a lot of the strong champions right now don't have CC. I mean, think about it. You know, Fiora, for example, like let's just go and look. You know, sure he has CC, okay? He has CC. Aatrox is gonna have a really hard time canceling Katarina's ultimate because it's not as easy to hit your knockups on her. Gragas can cancel it. Darius is gonna have a hard time. Wukong hard counters Katarina. But if you look at like these champions, sure, they work very well into Katarina. But Jace, for example, he's gonna have a hard time. Cannon is not gonna have an easy time canceling it either. Like, you may think he will, but he won't, because Katarina's ultimate is super fast, and before Cannon can stun her, it's not gonna be on time. Gwen cannot stop it. You know, a lot of these champions cannot stop it as well. And Baron laners do counter Katarina, by the way. But now if you look at junglers, he can't stop it. He can't stop it. He can't stop it. He can't stop it. You know, these dudes can stop it, but it's not all reliable. And like half of your games, you're gonna be seeing these junglers right here. They cannot stop you. Look at the mid laners. Yone is not gonna have an easy time stopping you either. Zoe is not gonna have an easy time stopping you either. Like, you have to think about all of the champions that are good right now. Look at the ADCs. All of these ADCs cannot stop you. They can't stop you. Look, oh wait, I'm spoiling the ADC tier list. Oops. If you look at the supports, they can't stop you easily as well. Like, you just look at the top champions, they can't stop you too easily. The only problem you really have is some of the Baron laners. But if you just pick Katarina in the right draft, if you just pick Katarina into Fiora, into enemy Gwen Baron lane, and then the enemy picked Kha'Zix in the jungle, which is very normal. They picked, I don't know, Orianna in the mid lane, or Zed in the mid lane, or they picked Akali in the mid lane. They picked champions with low CC. You can pick Katarina and absolutely stomp the enemy, destroy them. Because if the enemy doesn't have CC, Katarina is broken tier, not S+ tier. So keep that in mind. Next up is Irelia. Same story as the Baronade. I just feel like Irelia is way stronger now. I've played with and against some Irelias and they just feel way stronger. I can't put a grasp on why, but they feel way stronger. They feel way stronger. Next up is Orianna. Orianna is going to benefit a lot from this game as well now because with the bounties, which buffs late game champions, Orianna is obviously a late game champion. She also loves some of the new runes, which skill with, you know, zombie ward, how many wards you take, which skill with how many minions you've taken, you get more HP. You know, all of these scaling runes, she loves it. And on top of it, the Gathering Storm as well. She becomes a late game menace. Orianna will become a late game menace. Next up is Zed. And Zed will be so powerful in the mid lane. Also, with the first strike, you can constantly just poke the enemy a little bit, constantly get, you know, 20, 30 gold early on in the game, which is a lot early game, by the way. And even in the later stages of the game, very easily with some of your ultimate combos, you're going to be getting between 100 and 200 gold every time you ult. So it's just overall a very solid champion. Very low cooldowns, good ganks, just overall solid. Next up is Veigar. First strike Veigar. I need to play that. Can you just imagine a Veigar doing like 5,000 damage to the enemies in the later stages of the game? You know how, like, you know how much gold he's gonna get? He's gonna get like 500 gold from the first strike, which is ridiculous. So like, and the whole thing about Veigar is catching enemies in your wall and then all-inning them with second ability, first ability, ult. You know what I mean? You do your full damage, which is even early on in the game, is gonna be like 1,000 damage. So very early on in the game, you're already gonna be able to get like around 100 gold from first strike. And you guys know what the drill is with Veigar. If you get gold, you can buy so many items and absolutely stomp the enemies. Next up is Akali. Akali is solid. Not too much to say about. You have to be good at the champion, but she's just solid. She works quite well. Does a lot of damage. Works really well with the runes as well, because she has dashes, invisibility, and everything like that. So she works very, very well with the runes. Next up is Annie. First strike Annie. Also better than Electrocute because it will do more damage overall. First strike Annie is going to be very nice because you're always the one to strike first. You just have to put control wards in bushes. I am going to make a video about this as well, so don't you worry. It's just going to be an overall very, very solid champion. She already was overall a very solid champion, but now it's going to be even better because of the first strike. Next up is Ahri. Ahri is okay. I haven't put her in the S+ tier because I don't know, she doesn't feel that strong. She just feels okay. Her dashes are nice, her ganks are nice, but her late game is not as nice. So she did indirectly get nerfed a little bit in the current patch. Yasuo is great. He's just great. Just like Yone, he's great, but I feel like he's a little bit weaker than Yone because his ultimate is not as reliable as Yone's ultimate. Because as a Yone ultimate, you can knock up enemies with your first ability first and then guarantee your ultimate. Or if your allies have stunned the enemies, you can guarantee your ultimate as well. But with Yasuo, you're more reliable on you actually knocking up the enemies or having like a strong knock-up champion in your team, like a Wukong and a Malphite, and then hoping your teammate, you know, gets a good knock-up. So you're a bit more of a reliant champion when you play Yasuo on your team. Galio is very solid as well. Very, very good anti-mage. You know, very good into Katarina, good into Diana, into Evelynn, into those types of champions. So you can just pick him into those and you're always going to be doing fine in game. Vex is okay, but she doesn't feel that strong. Kha'Zix is fine. Pyke is fine in the mid lane. Fizz feels surprisingly strong. I don't really know why. I haven't tried him with first strike, but I think you would want to go Electrocute on him. I don't think he's a first strike champion. You know what's funny? Should I spoil it to you guys? No, I'm not gonna spoil it. Within this list, there is a certain champion that I played with first strike that got me 2,000 gold in like a 16-minute game with first strike. There is a champion in this tier list, and it is between the A and the D tier. There is a champion. You may be able to guess what I'm cooking up right now, which video I'm cooking up right now. You may be able to guess it. I'm not gonna tell you guys, but yes. Any other interesting champion that deserves talking about? Brand feels solid. Ziggs, I still need to give a try with first strike, but I feel like it may be very, very good with his ultimate. Anyone else? Nah. Otherwise, you know, these champions are not that good. Next up, we got the ADC role, or the dragon lane. First up, I want to say Ezreal. First strike Ezreal is disgusting in the dragon lane. Like, if you go for an Essence Reaver, your ultimate will do so much upfront damage. So like, all you really have to do in the late game is just hit your ultimate on like 2 or 3 enemies. 4, 5 would be better, of course, but that's not as reliable. You're gonna get so much extra damage from first strike and a lot of gold. So you can just bully the enemies. You can bully them even harder and get yourself some gold from it. And then besides that, overall, he's just a very solid champion. I should probably make a new video on him as well. Jhin is still the king of the ADC role. He doesn't like the new runes at all though. So I have downgraded him from the you know, being the top S+T champion to now the second and possibly even the third. And I would put him way closer to the other ADCs now because he really doesn't like the new runes. You still run Fleet Footwork on Jhin or Electrocute. Meanwhile, all the other ADCs have some crazy new runes, you know. All the boots are nice on Jhin though. But yet again, it's nothing special. It's really nothing special. So Jhin got a bit of an indirect nerf, I would say, from this patch. Kai'Sa is still insanely strong, definitely S+ tier. Whether you play AD Kai'Sa or AP Kai'Sa, both are incredibly powerful. Just the same story as last patch, really. Nothing really has changed about AP Kai'Sa. Next up, we got a champion that is so damn powerful right now, which is Caitlyn. Wow, she feels so strong right now. First of all, she hard counters Nyla. Everyone is playing Nyla, so you know, obviously the counters of Nyla are gonna be stronger right now, maybe during the first week or so. So abuse this. If the enemy picks Nyla, pick Caitlyn and basically win lane for free. Nyla cannot do anything against Caitlyn, ever, because she cannot get close. And even if she does get close, Caitlyn can very easily dodge your ultimate with her third ability. So if the enemy picks Nyla, just pick Caitlyn. Also, Caitlyn perfectly synergizes with the new Soraka, who's of course a very strong champion right now. Because as a Caitlyn, you're a long-range champion. And if the enemies cannot even do any damage to you because you have a Soraka, you can bully the hell out of them in lane. Get yourself ahead in the game and destroy the enemies in the mid-game. Get yourself some items, get the collector and all of that. You'll destroy the enemy if you play it correctly. So Caitlyn is a very, very solid ADC right now. Definitely not to be joking about anymore. I always used to say Caitlyn is useless, just like Jace, but I am taking it back right now. She is not useless at all. She's actually powerful right now. Next up, we got Varus, also with the first strike. Whether you play him AP or AD, I don't really recommend AP Varus though, because they really destroyed AP Varus. They nerfed him to the ground. Like, they really did nerf him to the ground. But AD Varus, even with the first strike, is very, very solid. You'll do a lot of poke damage, and every time you poke, you'll do just a little bit more with the first strike, and you get gold out of it. It's gonna be better than the Ahri. First strike will do more damage than Ahri, and it gives you gold, so it's a win-win situation. Lucian is great. Nothing special about him, he's just great. Just overall great champion. Runes are okay for him. Like, you still go Kraken Slayer on Lucian. He's just great. I've seen some people go first strike on Lucian, but I really don't recommend it. Kraken Slayer is way too good on Lucian to skip. Next up is Vayne. Vayne is also just overall great. Nothing too special, just okay. Just a great champion. The items work very well on her, you know, whether it's the Immortal Shield Bow, Bladed Rune King, whatever. All of it works really, really well on her. Lethal Tempo is great. She's just okay. Xayah, on the other hand, feels a lot stronger than before. I'm trying to, like, if I think about why, I don't really get why. Like, some champions, they get really strong and I don't understand why. And Xayah is also one of them. Like, even I played Xayah. Xayah is basically the only ADC that I never play. Like, because I find her so boring. But I did give her a try this patch and she felt so incredibly strong. Really, really solid champion right now. Zari is great as well. Nothing too special with the runes, but she's just okay. And now, I remember during the last tier list, I said that Zari looks like Michael Jackson if you squinch your eyes a little bit. And I literally cannot unsee it anymore. Her nose looks exactly like Michael Jackson's nose, and it's actually scaring me a little bit looking into Zari right now, because I cannot unsee it at all. Hopefully I've cursed Zari's face for you guys as well, because I cannot deal with it. So knowing that you guys are cursed with it too will give me a little bit of peace of mind as well. Okay, so next up we got Tristana. Tristana is great. Doesn't really utilize any of the new runes, but Tristana is just overall fine. Like, especially if you have a Soraka with you, you'll be able to be very nice and safe in the earlier stages of the game and get to the late game and hard carry. Even without an enchanter, Tristana is very good, because if the enemies get caught, you can push them into walls, use your third ability and blow them up. So like, Tristana is a really good champion to either have an enchanter with you, or to have like a Blitzcrank, Thresh Spike to punish enemies for getting caught. So she works everywhere. That's the beauty of Tristana. Samira is amazing too. With the Collector, you know, with the addition of the Collector, I've always loved playing Samira because of the ultimate, of course. Samira is great. Just like Katarina, same story. A lot of the champions that are good right now don't have a lot of CC. Well, reliable CC. Because, for example, I want to explain. If you're against a Soraka, Soraka doesn't have reliable CC. A really good Soraka may, but an average Soraka is, you know, she's going to throw her third ability at some point in a fight. After that, she has no more CC, so you can use your ult freely. A good Soraka, like a really good Soraka, is going to save her third ability just for you. But I'm going to assume that 95% of the Sorakas are not the really good Soraka that I'm talking about. So yeah. Next up we got Jinx. Jinx is really nice as well, but you do have to pick it with an enchanter like a Lulu. Actually, you should only really pick Jinx with a Lulu, really. But she's overall nice. I mean, even if you pick it with a Thresh, it's fine, because you can punish enemies as well with your second ability, third ability. But I really want to recommend you guys to pick Jinx with an enchanter. Twitch is okay. He's not as good as in the jungle. When you play Twitch in the Dragon lane, you don't play him AP, you play him AD. And AD Twitch is okay, but it's not as good as AP Twitch. AP Twitch is way stronger in the current meta right now. Miss Fortune has risen as well. Miss Fortune has always really been useless. She actually only been good one time. I remember when I had a 90% win rate with Miss Fortune. I was playing duo queue with a friend of mine, Kamolto, with this Thresh. But then she became useless again. But now, why is she good? Why is she suddenly good, actually, now that I think about it? She feels way stronger, but I don't get why she's stronger. I've played against some Miss Fortunes and I actually got destroyed. Some of them, well, not me, but the lane got destroyed. And some Miss Fortunes in my team did carry as well. So I have to respect the power that she has. She definitely looks way stronger than before, although I cannot really fully understand why that would be. However, you don't want to pick Miss Fortune with enchanters. You always want to pick Miss Fortune with, you know, Thresh, Set support, Gragas support, Braum, Alistar. You want to pick her with these tanks, these engages. You want to be aggressive in lane. Orianna and Ziggs, you know, APCs, they'll always be fine picks. Nyla, I think Nyla sucks. Like, I actually, in the beginning, I thought Nyla would be super strong, but she feels so weak. Like, only in the late game she's strong, but you'll get punished so heavily until you reach that late game. I think she sucks. Like, even when people figure her out, like, literally yesterday I thought she would be broken, but after seeing a little bit more, I really realized, like, Nyla kinda sucks. Like, she really kinda sucks. Draven, in my eyes, is horrible right now. Because, again, late game champions are way better now. They also nerfed Draven recently, so I don't think Draven is good. I really don't think he's good right now. Also, he gets countered by a lot of the good ADCs. Like, okay, Draven does counter Ezreal, but Jhin counters Draven. Kai'Sa can do okay into Draven. Caitlyn can easily be fine into Draven. Varus will be fine into Draven. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these ADCs will be fine into Draven. And when we get to the late game, of course, Draven is going to get outskilled by everyone. Next up, we got the support list. And there are the two more broken champions. Every single support got buffed this patch, just so you know, because they made the support items give you so many more stats and gold. So every support got buffed. The support role by itself got buffed. Soraka is completely utterly broken. They made her an absolutely brain dead champion. You can just spam your heal all the time. And even if that is not enough, you can also ult. So it's ridiculous. And then you can heal yourself with your first ability too. Absolutely broken champion. Absolutely broken. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, she should be pick or ban. You should never play against Soraka. It's disgusting. And the same story goes for Yuumi. I would say Soraka is more broken than Yuumi right now, though. But Yuumi, still broken tier. You always need to ban this champion. Lulu, you could argue that is also kind of broken, but Lulu at least, I don't know, like Lulu doesn't feel as strong as them. She is very close to broken tier though. So basically every game, you either want to pick one of these champions or ban all three of them. That's what I do. Like I make sure we ban all three of them. Next up is Sona. I have to bring my girl back. I am pretty sure Sona is broken right now. With the Rejuvenation Cup, she is so powerful. Remember though, she's harder to play now if you go for the Rejuvenation Cup, but it pays off much more. Because if you manage to stay safe, your heals are literally buffed by 15%, by 20%. And there is a rune that buffs your heals and barriers by another 5%. And if your allies are under, I believe, 40% health or something, it gets buffed by another 10%. So that is a total of 35% buffing of your barriers and your shields if your allies are low. How ridiculous is that on a champion like Sona? The only problem you have is you dying yourself. That is the only problem you have. Literally, that's the only problem. So as long as you have just good positioning, stay alive, you'll be okay. And your team is never gonna die. Never. Literally never. And now that I think about it, you could even skip the Archangel's Staff potentially, because the mana boots give you 200% mana regeneration. If people don't get how much that is, so if the mana regeneration normally is 10 per second, it's not gonna be doubled. It's gonna be tripled because it's 200%. So it will go from 10 to 30. You're gonna have 3 times... Oops. You're gonna have 3 times faster mana regeneration. That's a little bit of a common misconception people have about this item, which makes it. But I like the way I play Sona. I don't build the mana boots. I build Archangel Staff and I build Ionian boots, which gives you 30 additional ability haste. And if you have Archangel Staff, which builds into the Seraph's Embrace, it's still gonna be it's gonna be a lot of ability power late game, and it gives you the shield. And I would still say that it's necessary to have the shield because you don't have stasis anymore. Remember that. So you do need some survivability. Next up is Pyke. Very, very good. Although you want to make sure you ban Soraka, because if you don't ban Soraka, Pyke is basically going to be useless because you're never going to kill full HP enemies. You know what I mean? You have to have them be lower HP. So make sure you ban Soraka, and then Pyke is going to be very, very good. Nami is fine, you know, nothing special about her. And I would say like all of the other supports, a lot of the other supports got indirectly buffed, but Nami didn't really get changed too much, but she's just fine. She's okay. Janna is okay. We still have the normal Janna. She's not reworked yet. So she's just a strong champion. What can I say? Karma is very good too. Karma is one of those champions that can potentially deal with the Soraka in a way that you can just one-shot them. Not one-shot, but catch them out. You can use your empowered first ability to slow the enemy Soraka, use your ultimate to pull her in the middle, then use your second ability to root them. And meanwhile, you can use your third ability on your ally to catch out, you know, to help them get movement speed and catch the Soraka. And then you can also build a meteor and destroy the Soraka. Like, that would be a way to kill a Soraka, for example. Same goes for a Sona, you know. Karma can do that. Karma can catch enemies like that, which is a very powerful tool that not many enchanters have. Like, Janna can do it, but it's really hard for Janna because you have to hit a tornado, your second ability, blah, blah, blah. For Karma, it's much easier to hit that type of stuff. Alistar is great with third diving, although I don't really recommend it because remember, first strike does true damage, which counters Alistar. And remember as well, first strike does pre-mitigation true damage. So even though you are reducing like 70% of the enemy's damage, the true damage from first strike is based on like pre-mitigation damage, before armor, before damage reduction, before anything. So they're still going to do a lot of true damage to you, and they're going to be able to farm a lot of first strike gold on you, because as an Alistar, when you ult, you're not running away, you go balls deep into the enemy, so you'll let them do all the damage to you, which means they're getting more first strike gold from you. You have to think about all of those things. Braum is good. Again, he doesn't really benefit too much from the runes and meta and anything. He's just okay. He's just fine. Just a fine champ you can always pick. I don't really know why the hell I've put Thresh in the S tier. That has to be a mistake, by the way, because Thresh is definitely stronger than Alistar and Braum, both of them. What the hell? I forgot about Lux. Am I drunk? That's because I remade the tier list like 3 times. That I knew I was missing something. I knew I was missing something. Lux is definitely S plus tier. Almost broken tier. I wouldn't put her broken tier because I just don't think she's as strong as Soraka and Yumi, but easily on top of the S plus tier. Whether you play tank Lux, whether you play enchanter Lux, even full AP Lux, although I don't recommend the full AP Lux one. I have a video on all three of them. 3 in 1. Look up HellsDevil Lux and look at my recent video if you haven't already. You'll be able to see me play tank Lux, enchanter Lux, and full AP Lux in a single video. So check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, so next up is Galio. Galio is great at roaming around. You know, with the zombie ward, he can be very nice. With a Warmog, he can constantly gank lanes, and then with his ultimate as well. You know, he's a very nice roaming support. Rakan. Oh, Alistar did benefit from the runes. See, I forgot one more thing. I knew like that there was something that I had in my head that I forgot to talk about. The glacial rune, the one that has slowing. You know how I thought about it? Because I reached Rakan. The whole reason Rakan is kind of back into the game is because of that new rune, the glacial rune. The slowing that it gives, the damage reduction is so powerful, and it makes Alistar much better. It makes Thresh much better. It makes Rakan much better. It makes Leona better. It makes, you know, it makes what is that champion called? Nautilus much better. It makes these champions better. That's what it was. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. I forgot about Lux, and I forgot about the glacial rune. I don't even know what it's fully called. So yeah. Next up is Sett. Sett is a bit of a champion that a lot of people may think is not viable in support, but he definitely is viable in support. To catch enemies out, to ult enemies, also with ganks. He's just a very solid champion to play in the support role. Besides all of those, I don't think there's any other interesting supports to talk about. So that's gonna be it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. You know, make sure you follow me on Kick if you want to. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video.